1.
Hello everyone. Very warm good evening to all. So after a long time, we are conducting a panel discussion of our the history enthusiasts. So we chose Women's Day to again restart our panel discussion. It is one of our objective to discuss on women related issues, history of women, history of Indian women, her problems, changes throughout the history, transitions which occurred in the life of women. That has been always one of our objectives. So we thought that of in this 2023's uh, Women's Day, International Women's Day, to conduct a panel discussion as we had done it last year also. Uh, so it is an honor to welcome all our panelists today. So we have six panelists. Uh, so in that presently Usha Devi ma'am is there and Miss Vasudha Katti is there. So I warmly welcome Usha Devi ma'am and Miss Vasudha Katti and co-host of this session Manali Momaya and president of the History Enthusiast. So we are actually very happy to announce that we have proceeded for registration of our organization also. So soon we will be getting the certificate of registration. As we have taken the post as me as the vice president of the History Enthusiast and Manali as the president of the History Enthusiast. So when we will get the certificate, we will circulate in our social media platforms, and you can also share the happiness. So I also welcome all the audience who are joining us through this panel discussion. It's really a great opportunity to listen to Usha Devi ma'am and Miss Vasta Katti, as both of them are very knowledgeable in their domains. As Usha Devi ma'am, she is really very knowledgeable related to women history, socio-economic history. So it's an honor to have her today. I warmly welcome you, ma'am. And Miss Vasudha Katti, she
Thank
is.
you.
It's my pleasure, ma'am. Miss Vasudha Katti, she has a tremendous knowledge in menstrual hygiene, as she has done deep research on it, particularly in rural areas of India, how the menstrual hygiene is and should be. On these things she has researched, and it's a very, very great pleasure to have her on this platform, so that our young girls as well as any age women can get more knowledge about menstrual hygiene, menstrual health. I warmly welcome Ms. Husda Katti, as she is also my elder sister. It's a very happy moment for me to share the platform with her. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation.
Thank you so much, Nidhi, for having me here. Thank you, Manali. Wonderful initiative by both of you. And I feel honored to be sharing this platform with all of you all, especially Dr. Usha Devi. I see she is too experienced and honor for me. So thank you very much.
Yes. So thank you so much. I request Miss Manali Momaya now to give her introductory remarks.
Thank you very much, Nidhi, for the warm welcome. It's really a wonderful experience that we have had so far in this journey of the history enthusiasts. And we are in our third year. And as Nidhi has already mentioned, we are registering our organization. We also have many events offline and online planned ahead of us. So your support and cooperation is always very valuable. We treasure it. This Women's Day, 2023, the United Nations organization has kept the theme of this Women's Day as digital or uh, innovation and technology for gender equality. And since we are living in the age of innovation, technology, there are rapid developments in the field of science continuously. So I think incorporating technology and using technology in order to promote gender equality, gender equity are really welcome steps, and definitely we are also uh, going forward in that direction. Also, this is an age of anxiety and depression. We are living in so many chaos and confusions, and the society, it is filled with so many problems. There are a lot of disharmonious going on. People are fighting. There is loss of peace at there is war in some places. There is a lot of things that we don't want but are still there in the society, and obviously they have an adverse effect on health of all human beings, animals, all the living organisms involved. uh, of course, a general study on the adverse health effects of all these things has to be done. But especially as we have noticed, women's health has been a taboo subject. It has a lot of aspects of women's health have been prohibited from discussion on social platforms. They have been treated as something shameful, something which cannot be discussed with men or in front of family. I think it's high time now. We are in the 21st century. We have already finished 23 years or 22 years of the 21st century, and still a lot of these things that continue to be shameful. I think it is time that we come out of that kind of shame and that mentality, and openly discuss these problems, because they are really very glaring issues, something that needs immediate attention. Women now are having to balance both work life and family life. There are a lot of expectations. There were many expectations on women since historical times, and nothing has changed. There is no reduction in those expectations. They have in fact multiplied with more and more women joining the workforce. So I think it is important that we discuss, and that is why we have organized this panel discussion today. Uh, of course, it is important to include all women, whether they are from rural or urban backgrounds, whether they are educated or uneducated, whether they are working in organized or inorganized sectors, or whether they are homemakers or whether they are working. So everybody, all women in general, have a number of health issues, both physical and mental, that have been neglected, that have been treated as unimportant for many, many years now. So I think that's why this panel discussion is very, very important. And I hope through this discussion, at least to a very little extent, we can create some change in society, maybe change the mindset of a few people. Even if it just changes the mindset or mentality of one person, I think we will have done a successful work. So, without further ado, I request Ms. Nidhi Katti to please introduce our first panelist, Dr. M.V. Usha Devi ma'am, and then we will continue with ma'am's talk.
Thank you so much, Manali. It is an honor to introduce Dr. Yamvi Usha Devi, ma'am. Ma'am has completed her MA, MPhil, UGC, and GRF PhD. The title of her PhD thesis was Famines and Famine Policies in Princely Mysore, 1875 to 1918. Ma'am has he has started working in Bangalore University Department of History from 1992 till present. She is working there. From 2016 to 2018, she was chairperson of the department too. She has around 34 years teaching experience and research experience. And Ma'am has also guided many PhD students, and she has represented the problems of Dalit women in India at the international conference organized by United Nations 42nd session Human Rights Council in 2019 at Geneva, Switzerland. And she has also participated in the international webinar at the fifth conference organized by HWPL UN uh, ESCOSOC by DPCW on the topic Marching Towards Sustainable Peace in a Pandemic Era, which occurred in 2021. Her specializations are socio-economic history of modern India, economic history of modern princely Mysore state, status, position, and problems of women, Dalit and nomadic people, post-colonial problems, higher education, landless classes, and issues related to poverty in Karnataka, socio-economic movements in contemporary India, environment and water resource management in Karnataka, and whatnot. As we all know, ma'am is a great a teacher, professor, and great researcher and motivator for students, and always supports youths, and she's a very good inspiration for women and girls who are planning to choose history for them also. Ma'am has participated in many projects, and she has presented and published many research papers in national, international journals. And she has got life memberships in multiple historical organizations such as Indian History Congress, South Indian History Congress, Karnataka History Congress, Indian Association for American Studies, Indian Council for Historical Research, Mythic Society, and etc. And she has also been part of many administrative sections in multiple universities, and she has also been awarded by multiple felicitations.
Enough,
And
enough, Kati.
no, ma'am, it is
Enough, na?
I'll complete it in 1 or 2
Enough,
minutes.
enough, enough. That's okay.
Yes, ma'am. So it's a really very honor to have ma'am on this platform. As always, she has supported the history enthusiast group from the beginning. When we started it at that time only, ma'am was the first person who appreciated our idea, and she has been with us from the beginning itself. So we request ma'am to continue her support, and personally also she always motivates me and Manali for new initiatives. So thank you so much, ma'am, for always supporting us and for accepting our invitation. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Anytime and always.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I first and foremost wanted to congratulate the organizers, Manali and Nidhi. They are more, the title itself shows that they are enthusiasts about history. The topic today, I again congratulate for organizing International Women Day celebration. Though it is been postponed, it doesn't matter, better late than never. The topic I wanted to share is that historical perspective of human rights and women rights. With that background, the health issues related to women. Uh, Once again, I wanted to share some of the historical aspects that has been impacted until today. It has been continued from ancient, medieval, modern, and again contemporary. Women, we all know, always has been treated as a second citizen, never honored as an individual. Always she has been focused as a dependent, not an independent. So these are the things that one could find in historical studies about women. And we know that for any type of development, progress, or growth of any society or economy, education and knowledge plays very important thing. That education and knowledge, though women has better knowledge and skill in carrying out any form of either start from family or administration or economy, maintaining finance, everything, she has not been recognized and find out. And secondly, she has been treated as a beautiful object rather than what are the difficulties that she undergoes. She has been honored as a mother, as a sister, as a partner, as a wife, but nobody in the society cares for a daughter. If any girl child is born, this is the discrimination we come across. There are a lot of organizations, lot of NGOs working for the emancipations and the empowerment of women, even then these problems, these issues have not yet resolved, because it should start from an individual. So with that background, when we look at the historical records, that human rights has been divided into three parts. One is natural rights, second one is fundamental rights, and third one is human rights. So natural rights, human rights, and again fundamental rights, only it is reserved for men folk. That what history narrates, history tells us that. So all throughout history, human rights came with the, again, the Eurocentric Europe, particularly in Britain, in the introduction of Magna Carta in 1268, it has been introduced. And similarly in France, after liberation, you know that one after the other, each country wanted to bring in the human rights. And later we could see end of the First World War, League of Nations came into formation, and again gave importance for human rights. Then again, along with that, women rights. So human rights has been given, or it has been honored only for the men folk. It was like that, and not for the women. Again, women has to fight for her human rights. So any society for that matter, wherever and whenever a woman has been honored with human rights, then there will be an equality in the society. So throughout the world, I could see, or I find that it is inequality. The society is inequality. Economy, polity, religion, caste, anything for that matter, there is disparity. This disparity particularly reflects on today's theme on the health of women, mentally, or it might be physically, both the psychological feeling, particularly the emotional feeling that women undergo, is not at all considered in the society. So with that background, where is the right or equality of women? How could that could be expressed? And you know that any sufferings, particularly we everyone have experienced that during COVID-19, that pandemic outbreak and all. I think the greatest mental sufferers or psychological implication was only on women compared to men, because physically they were attacked, and majority, when we go through the census or the ratio, men folk had been declined and the women were very strong. So physically they were strong, immunity was there, because they had developed the process of tolerance. So with that background, emotionally they could control, they could overcome. With that background, women are much stronger compared to any other forms in the society. But rather, with all these things, we can see that her personal feelings, as Manali was explaining about, are what are the things that undergo biological changes that has been taking place in the women, that is not been highlighted or brought to light. It has been hidden agenda always. I think medical doctors, and again the specialists, the gynecologists, or such a things, they could know better. Then as a student of history, I have come across such things have been closed, the doors have been closed, it has been made a taboo, that it should not be exposed, that it should not come to reality. Everyone knows it's a biological process and a natural process that has been taken place, but it is not openly discussed anywhere, particularly in our society. Come to India, we know that it is purely based on shastras, puranas, and everything, that it has not to be treated very fairly, it is not to be highlighted. It all thing that I've been, when a girl gets puberty, in some community they celebrate very grandly. And particularly in the case of Devadasis, I think that would be highlighted, brought to the knowledge of every person in the society, that has been one girl has come to puberty. So with that, celebrations are there only in such community, and not entire Indian society. It varies from region to region, state to state, and locality to the communities and the class. So depending on that, most of the problems that are associated is hidden agenda. Nothing is very clear there. And when we see that during British period, that institutionalizations of this prostitution, the process of devdasis, or the prostitution institutions which they had made, I think these are all the process we know. We know everything that is going to happen, because the Britishers, when they came to India, or anybody for that matter from ancient period, they did not bring their other half or the better half or the wife or a partner or a woman from their place to our country. Here we could see that most of the multicultural, multi-process, multi-religion, everything, but anywhere, any religion, anything related to women has not been openly discussed. In Take for example any religion, it might be Vedic religion, or it might be Islamic religion, or Christian religion, Zoroaster, Sikhism, Jainism, Buddhism, women is not discussed anywhere. Just she has been treated as a goddess. Yeah, blessings. Then she is be honored as a mother. But the process of becoming a mother, and what are the health related physical changes that she undergoes, that's what I could find, that somewhere in society it has been honored and expressed everything. In other part it has been hidden. That should not be very openly discussed. So with that background, there is lot of discrimination related to any caste. It might be upper caste, lower caste, rich or the poor, or middle class, anything for that matter. Women process of becoming a mother, it is not been clearly discussed. In now we've come to our contemporary period. Majority have been highlighted, educated, and enlightened, and they are also wanted to share their the problems openly. What is the percentage of women that could share their problems, particularly women related issues like menstrual period, or it might be pregnancy, or it might be so on so forth, are been associated throughout our life. So with that background, what are the things that the responsibility of the governance, what is government is doing for that? This is the thing that one could find in history. Nowhere, apart from establishing the basic health centers or hospitals, clinics, everything, maternity homes, maternity hospitals, apart from that, nowhere the government is openly giving protection or prevention of these contagious diseases, if at all it occurs. So in order to prevent, or precautionary measures by the government, particularly to women, though there is ministry, there are both central and the state government, they are providing health centers, and women and child development departments are there. How far it is working successfully? How many, what is the percentage of the people that has been the gainers, or that has been reached to every community in the society? This is a question thing. Then later one could see that the investment in the budget, everywhere we go through, the government of India, central government and the state government, they fix or sanction some of the budget for women health, particularly child and women welfare schemes and all, there are there. But what is the percentage of the budget they have granted? Secondly, how much fund has been released? And thirdly, who were the really they could utilize, who were the people that are gaining these profits? So these are the questions that one could find from the historical period. The great sufferer are women. Physically she has been always used, abused, and misused. So with that background, the awareness has to be created, and each one's responsibility is that equally they should be treated, equally they should be honored, and what are the issues they are facing now, that should be resolved through governance. And secondly, I could find that there is a law, there is a constitution, there is a reservation for women. How many of them have been availed of these provisions? How many of them are aware to get this provision, from where this provision could be found it out? And you know that always women has been discriminated, she has been physically used or abused or misused. And if they go on wanted to complain against any domination or exploitation, again there she will be in the target of exploitation and discrimination. These are the things that women could not openly discuss, come out openly, because she doesn't know the law. So first thing, the responsibility of the government, in order to bring in enlightenment, through the provisions of facilities, financial, then again establishment of all the hospitals, clinics. And again, my argument or my point here is that free treatment should be given to women and the girl child, starting from the girl child. So free treatment, health treatment should be given to the women by the government, because in European countries I come across two important things are very free. That is the responsibility of the government, particularly the democratic government. One is education, and the other one is health sector. We are paying so much of tax to the government. 35 to 40% we are paying the direct or indirect taxes. But what is the percentage of the budget for health sector? That is a question mark. Till now I could not find that. It is on the record some amount has been fixed in the budget for the health sector, but how many people are facilitators? Who is real the facilitators? But my knowledge goes that all these government hospitals, only the multi speciality or super speciality hospitals have been maintained by the privatized. So it has been privatized here, again privatization of the health sector. So this should be reduced. It should be taken by the public sector or the government, initiate the program especially to the women of free of charge. Their healthcare should be under the control of the government. This is the thing that I could find in history, throughout history, that nowhere the responsibility of the government, apart from that in the 20th century, after the end of the Second World War, establishment of UNO, important countries like America, Britain, Russia, and so on, so other Germany, France, and all, they have made it health and education as a free sector. With that background, here my point to highlight or bring it to the knowledge of everybody is that health should be made a public sector, and responsibility of the government to give a free health provisions for girl, starting from the girl child until for women and old age women also. So with that, there will be a reductions in our tensions, emotions, or psychological feeling that if I say that I am ailed with, I am diseased with the family, that would be a financial burden for them. So I need not tell my the sufferings of my disease in my body. If I tell them, it would be very expensive. If at all they are well to do and all, there's no problem, there is no issue. And again, you know that property is not equally divided by women, I mean a boy and the girl in the family, and it is only hereditary of the son's rights, right? This is also again right I'm speaking about. There are various forms of rights where girl child has been discriminated, and she's not very openly claiming that I want equal share in the property, I want equal rights in the property of a own mother's place, or is where she was born. And secondly, she doesn't want to take the proportion of her right even in a married family, in her husband's family. So with that, lots of psychological feeling she has undergone, and nowhere she has been honored, and her opinion has not been recognized due to various reasons. Might be for the reason the society that has been brought up until today. Though we speak about digital the world women, what Monali was telling, the UNO declared that 2023 has been digit women and all. So technology, science, equipments, modernity, everything that is there. When the government fixed so much of amount for the health sector, how much fund has been released? And when we go through the records, that we could see less than 1% has been spent for health in India annually. So that is, I feel very tragic. I don't know, these are the limitations that I have as a student of history, that I couldn't find that so much of lacunas, particularly in equality of women. There is lot of discrimination. And secondly, when we come to health sector, health is also not been properly analyzed or given treatment for the diseases which they undergo, and it is not openly discussed with anybody. That is also a taboo. With that background, both psychologically and physically, women is always targeted, but she is honored as a mother, and she has been honored as a goddess, everything. She has been fit to be treated very honorable. Only with that background, and no one is considering very seriously about giving provisions to create a healthy society. And you know that one quotation will be always telling that when one woman is educated, entire family is educated. So many things are there, but nowhere we come across that woman has been given protections for her health. She's very potential, she's very healthy. That is not been given anywhere. That also should be pointed out in history. So with that background, my point is that women, not just speaking about, not we are claiming about, not the through the movements of the struggles that we should get our rights, but in a natural process, all the rights which has been given to human beings equally should be shared with the women folk also. So with that background, as a student of history, these are the few things. There is lots and lots to explain. You take for example ancient period, what are the things that was there. In medieval period, what are the discrimination with the Islamic rulers they brought in. Only elite women had all those provision, and nowhere we come across in the records that middle class or the lower class or the common citizens, what was their status and position. It is very less informed. And when we come to British rule, we have lots of records, archival records are there. In those archival records, when we speak about the health sector, only the primary health centers were opened, not a very big hospitals. Only the generosity of the capitalists or the industrialists or the maharajas, they have contributed for the construction in their name the maternity hospitals. With that background, and I know that contagious disease always it was broken out throughout India, either in the form of famine, or in the form of plague, or in the form of scarcity, or in the form of drought. Everywhere the human people are the great sufferers. So in order to give relief or honor to save them from that suffering, various provision has been introduced by the British, but it was only catered to the needs of their profits. This is where the point that I could find in history. They were very much, very cleverly, very diplomatically, they wanted to bring in the changes or the transformation only with their own self interest. So that also could be fine. Now we were independent, we got our own government, we have our own people, we have our own elected ministers, we have got all leaders here. And you know, throughout history, that only some of the prominent leaders who are elite, very broad minded, very liberal attitude, and we have got many examples that for eradication or avoiding the discrimination or the violence against the women, only few people, handful people could speak about these discrimination, against discrimination or eradication of such evil practices in the society. Apart from that, entire society or the governance is not taken responsibility in order to protect the second citizen or the so-called women. So with that background, I think these are the points I wanted to bring to light. I think there is lots and lots of about women and again health sector. I think other panelists will continue with this. Thank you once again. I congratulate all the organizers. Thank you, given me an opportunity to share few thoughts about historical process. Thank you, Manali, and particularly Nidhi Katti, who is always enthusiasm. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you,
Thank you
ma'am.
so
Thank
much,
you so
ma'am.
much.
It was indeed a very wonderful start to this panel discussion, getting the historical background about how women's health has been treated throughout the pages of history, how it has been neglected, and even it has been a subject of discussion, how many taboos it has been subject to. So, thank you very much, ma'am, for this wonderful talk. I now want to introduce our next panelist, Ms. Vasudha Katti. Ms. Vasudha is a public health professional from Belgavi. She completed her bachelor's in um, just a second. She completed a bachelor's in science from Mount Carmel College, Bangalore University, and her master's in public health from the Indian Institute of Public Health University, Gandhinagar, Gujarat. Uh, she has a great experience in working in the public health sector as a program coordinator and research intern at Symbiosis University Pune, Symbiosis International University Pune. She led a community-based research project with the Symbiosis community an outreach program and extension activities uh, on menstrual hygiene of especially rural adolescent girls. She was a research officer at Mahan Trust, Melghat Dharni, Maharashtra, from 2017 to 18, where she concluded a research project titled Verbal Autopsy for Identification of Most Probable Causes of Death Among Children of 0 to 5 years of age. And after that, she worked as a program manager at Novartis Arogya Parivar, Karnataka, where she led the team of 25 health professionals, health educators across Karnataka with the primary focus to improve the health seeking behavior among rural and urban poor communities through behavioral change, communication, and provide access to quality healthcare. Uh, Currently, she is a clinical research scientist at Strand Life Sciences, Karnataka. She is managing on-field operations of the population research project, and she is also developing concept notes, synopsis, proposals for various projects at the institution. She has ensured a lot of experience in public health projects as well as research, and she has also attended several national and international seminars and conferences related to public health. She published a paper titled "Menstrual Hygiene in Rural India" in the very esteemed Indian Journal of Public Health Research and Development. Another paper titled Menstrual Hygiene Practices, a cross-sectional study among rural adolescent girls of Mulshi Block, Pune district, which is under review right now. So I'm sure it is a very interesting paper and I would love to read it. She has a great experience in public health department and is a very devoted professional. She has also worked on the menstrual hygiene of adolescent girls especially, and I think she is a great suit for this panel discussion, a very wonderful panelist. Without any further ado, I request Ms. Vasudha Katti to take over.
Thank you so much, Manali, for that wonderful introduction. And Dr. Usha Devi, it was very insightful listening to you. So thank you very much. And before I start off, a very happy Women's Day. Probably it's not just a day, it's the entire year that women own. So happy Women's Day. It's valid today also. And thank you, Nidhi, and thank you, Manali, for organizing this and for having me here. So, well, I thought it would be nice to visually have something. So, I have a very small presentation. Just give me a second, I'll put it. Okay, I guess I'm there. Okay, let me know if it's visible.
I have added it to the screen. Just put it
Okay,
on slide share.
it's on slideshow.
It's not showing that here.
It's not showing. Just 1 second. Well, now
Okay. Still,
Yeah, it's visible. Yes.
it's visible. Okay, so okay, so I just wanted to start off with a question. Are we all really gender equal right now? Are we thinking in the direction? Are we acting in the direction of being gender equal? Are we trying to evolve to become gender equal? This is a question not to answer, but all of us to really give a thought to. Because when we say we want gender equality or we want to work towards gender equality, how much of the equality have we brought into our homes? That is the first question we need to answer ourselves. do we still believe, or do we still think that it's our mothers who should be cooking in the kitchen and not really fathers? Does it not bother us when our mothers do most of the household activities and fathers really don't do as much they should be doing? Because equality begins right there. And if we are not doing it, then probably we all should start working into our own homes before we step out and talk about it. So, just on this note, I would like to begin. And very rightly said by Manali, the theme this year for International Women's Day, 8th of March 2023, was Digital, which is innovation and technology for gender equality. And the World Bank came up with a very nice, a hashtag system that we follow these days, which is Embrace Equity. Now, I wanted to start by asking, do you all remember this picture? Sometime back, a very famous personality had tweeted this. It was Anand Mahindra who tweeted this picture, and he had put a very small example while posting this picture, saying he was taking care of his grandchild or something, which was not even 1 year. And then he realized how women have to, cross different stages before, to reach out at the same level professionally, personally, all the levels as men have to. And as you can see in this particular image, there the tracks, they start at the same point, but then you have one after the other hurdles for women. Now, uh, from an outsider's perspective, we might look at it as hurdles, but for women it's so deeply engraved that they look at it as their responsibility, that they have to do it. Whereas when we look at from the men's point of view, it is not necessarily viewed as a responsibility, though it is, but it is not viewed. So the track and the starting point have to be the same for everybody for equality. But sadly, that is not the case. Hence, we need to first step in, bring in equity over here, whereas everybody has this same level of start. It should not be that one has a different starting point and the other different. Then, in that case, it cannot be equal for anyone. And for women who have for thousands of years been oppressed, been subjected to patriarchal norms, the social constructs, everything, for them, equity becomes more so important, because you have to bring them from a level which is in minus, which is in negative, to a level which comes to zero first before they start up their progress. So now I would like to kind of point out how equal are we? Are we equal physically? No, we are not. Are we equal emotionally? No, we are not. Emotional capacity of each individual is different. So it is not something that can generally be dimensioned by gender. Mentally, it is all different abilities. Socially, it's different. But where we are very, very different significantly is biologically. We can, for example, have some male and some female of the same strength, but
Excuse me. Hello.
yeah.
Uh, yes, Vasudha. The
Yeah.
slides are not moving on the stream actually. So,
Oh,
could you just present it through slide share mode?
let me do that.
Okay, now it's visible. The second slide is visible now.
Oh, but then if I enter the slideshow mode, I don't think that would be visible. Is it visible now? Is it changing?
Uh, it's the second slide right now.
Okay, so I think I should change the way. Uh, I don't think it will work this way. Just give me 1 minute.
Okay. There's an option to upload your PPT on the
Yeah,
this
that's
one.
what I'm. Yeah, that's what I'm looking to do. I guess it's loading.
Yeah, it's all right. Might take a minute or two.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's now visible.
So
Yes.
it's visible, right? Okay, this is much better. Yeah. Okay. So the slides that I was just running through, not much. This was the second. Then we went on to discussing whether physically, emotionally, mentally, socially are we equal, and okay. Then let me go to menstruation. So the reason why I got this point up about how equal are we in terms of our biology is very important, because that indicates to a lot of other possibilities in terms of growth of women, empowerment of women, in terms of the entire concept of gender equality or gender equity for that matter. So, when we say biologically we are different, one thing that makes us stand apart as women from men is menstruation. Now, if we think about menstruation, then what is it? It is a very naturally occurring biological process that happens when a girl hits her puberty. And that stays with her for up to 55 years of age, roughly, until she attains menopause. But that age of her puberty to her menopausal is so huge that that is the most productive, those are the most productive years of a woman's life. So it surely does not end at it that it is just a natural biological process, but it has a lot of other effects. It has a lot of other impact on the women. Physically, of course, because menstruation is taxing on the body. For some, menstruating could be very easy as a process. They might not experience many symptoms. They might not experience much discomfort. But for some, it is really something which is very physically taxing on the body. Socially, yes, why not? So many effects. We'll go through that later part. And mentally, when you have this whole vicious cycle of a physical impact, of a social impact, everything, then mentally, of course, it's going to take a toll on that one individual as a human being. So when we say menstruation has different impacts on different women, it is not the same for everyone. It cannot be the same for everyone, because as individuals we are all different. But does menstruation impact women empowerment? Yes, of course it does. It does, quite negatively in some ways, quite positively in some ways. Positively only if we look at the equity part of it, that menstruation as a whole subject has to be very well addressed. It cannot be overlooked as a concept when we talk about equality or when we talk about equity, because that plays a very, very major role. So going forward, um this one person, so we had this movie by the name Padman. I wish people would have seen it, because this one statement by this man, which is Arunachalam Muruganathanam, he's the one who decided, who designed and who developed this sanitary making machine. I wore the napkin. I'll just read out. I wore the sanitary napkin for hours together while doing my daily course. That's when I found out that being a woman is not easy. Those 5 days of menstruation that a woman undergoes, regardless of age, only the woman can understand what is happening in her body in those 5 days. This as cannot be understood as it is by any other person, but there have to be efforts made to be made to understand that in that particular way. So now brings this brings us to one very important question: uh, Are the men sensitized enough? Now let's try to address. Yes, there are social barriers when we talk about menstruation. When we talk about overall a women's health, women's health is never taken into general health as a consideration. Even today, when we talk about women's health, there are different acts, different policies meant specially for women, but they are made with an interest of giving them those special services. But when we look at women's health overall, uh, it is kind of always looked at a social barrier to talk about it. And the topic of menstruation, especially, is something which is very, very discriminated against the other topics, and such that men feel. I'm not talking about all the men, it goes without saying, because now notions are kind of changing. But when we talk about men, it is a larger section of the men, because we come from a very patriarchally driven society. That has not changed, and that would take long years to change. But a man would neither discuss nor would be taught about menstruation anywhere. Even when we look at schools, there would be sections which would be done in seclusion for girls who are of that particular age group, to tell them about what menstruation is, or what you should probably do when you get a stain on your dress. But for men, the same is not being taught, right? So what happens is, let me tell an example. In our 10th grade, Most of the students these days, also in their 10th grade, are taught about the reproductive system of the human body. What happens in that particular class, most of the cases, because of my work in rural areas, I have been fortunate enough to witness that. While we talk about the reproductive system of the male, the class is conducted together, but when it comes to the reproductive system of the female, the class is divided into two, and the girls are taken to a separate room. In most of the cases, it so happens that the reproductive male system is taught separately and female system is taught separately. Here is where the main problem begins. Exactly here, when both the male and the female are not given education about the entire overall reproductive system, regardless of the gender. The idea to do so is to make children comfortable talk about it, is to sensitize them in a very sensitive manner. But at the same time, if they are not taught about both the reproductive systems and the bodily changes that happen, then it is not going to serve the purpose of bringing in this kind of education at the level of schooling. Uh, Right. So now, when we talk about sensitization of men, we talk about the perceived notion of menstruation or menstruating women. So, what men generally think? The thing is that they for sure know it's a normal process that happens to most of the women. But there in many men would be found in that state of denial to address that particular problem if it is a problem in their household. Decisions, because are patriarchal in our society, it's the head of the family, it's generally the male who takes the decision. Let's for example take the rural setting. For that case, even urban holds true. uh, to buy a simple pack of sanitary napkins, that decision is not taken by the mother of the girl, it is taken by the father of the girl, because he is the provider of the family financially. So that is where it is very important that men be sensitized enough to understand that what is menstruation, what happens during menstruation. And this is the thing that was lacking way behind in all those years that have passed by, I would say. But going forward, that cannot be the case. Now, another very common thing that I would like to bring up here is it is basically understood that if a girl is bleeding or if the girl is undergoing menstruation, she's unfit at that particular moment. Many a times it has so happened, and I myself have experienced, wherein the gym instructor would tell me, I would be exercising. If I'm not exercising fast enough, or I'm slow in doing my sets or something, the person would tell me, are you in jumps or are you having your periods or something, because they feel that that is what makes the girl weak, lethargic. Same goes with schools. I mean, how many times most of us would have experienced, we are in the school, we are doing our gymnastics class or our PT class is going on, and if it's a female, then they would kind of make you sit away if you're menstruating. All those things done with a good intention aside, but that goes with an understanding that you're unfit the moment you're menstruating, which is wrong. You're not unfit. If the situation of the person individual is such that they cannot be doing those activities, fair enough. But if not, then that underlying notion of being unfit should be erased. Another thing is casual labeling, PMS, premenstrual syndrome. Most women undergo premenstrual problems associated with premenstrual symptoms. That could be bloating, that could be severe abdominal cramps, that could be pain in their legs, back pain, whatnot. There are lots of PMS related issues. Sometimes it is so severe that it really affects the mental health of the person for that particular time period. But casual labeling of PMS is something which is most common these days, and it's just increasing at the institutional levels everywhere. If someone behaves in a cranky way today, it might not be because they are having menstruation, and it not might be because they are having premenstrual syndrome. But are you PMSing? Why are you having these problems? This is how it is casually labeled. And this is something which is not just gender based, but women do it to women as well in most cases. Are you PMSing? This is what happens. Okay. But we were talking about a different part now. We were talking about men. But let's move on to fellow menstruators. Are women supportive enough to women? Now, if we think about it, what are the instances? Where are our fellow menstruators actually going to play a role? That is at the initial level, when a young girl who is just going to begin her puberty or has started off with puberty has her first periods. That is when fellow menstruators, who might not be of her age or who might be, they play a very important role. Now, when we talk about this, who are the ones that come to our mind? It's the mothers, it's the elderly women in the family, and it's the teachers at the school. Now, if these two set of people, one at the home front, one at the school front, because that's where the kids are most of the time, either home or school, if they are not kind of, supportive enough or well equipped with correct knowledge to, impart that to their children, be it at school level, be it at home front, that's where the problem begins with menstruation, and that's where the problem has begun so many years back. Now, it's not that women have all of a sudden started menstruating. Women have been menstruating for years, thousands of years now. What has happened, just like how we pass traditions, we have also passed on a lot of myths, a lot of taboos from one generation to the other, to the other, to the other. Generally, what happens, our cognitive abilities in most of the cases would evolve generation to generation. Maybe in most of the cases now, we see we have our parents who are little elderly to us, who might have issues struggling with technology. We might be faster at it, but the people immediately after us, a few years younger to us, they are even faster at technology as compared to us. Why is this? Because we are evolving and we are getting exposure to that set at that particular age group. But that has not so happened in the case of menstruation, is what my understanding is so far. Because even today, I'll just state a few examples. It was long back, a couple of years ago, I think around 7 to 8 years ago, when I had gone for my first field visit ever. And it was research on menstrual hygiene again. It was just a baseline that I was trying to do. The first question when I said menstruation in that particular classroom was a girl raising her hand, and I appreciated the courage she had to raise her hand. But she asked me one thing, that is it true that if a snake sees the sanitary napkin that I have used, the snake will follow me and bite me? Now, if a girl who is in her seventh grade or eighth grade is asking this question, then we surely have to agree that we are scarring the minds of those young children, who are then going to be future women, who are going to be women either with empowerment or struggling with empowerment. And in most cases, struggling, because the very foundation that we are laying about all of this is very negative in their minds. Because dropouts increase, they start having that social withdrawal from people from schools. That age group, which is very, very, very sensitive for the development of a child, if the minds are scarred with such issues at that young age, then growth surely is hampered, right? So that is where fellow menstruators have to be supportive enough. So this was a very interesting study which was done by the UN, and we'll ignore all of it and just take a look at some points, which is low self-confidence, which is felt scared, missed school on account of menstruation, felt embarrassed and humiliated over restrictions. I guess these are enough, right? Yeah, these are enough. Why enough? Because these clearly indicate that this is how we are mentally, kind of putting a burden on the minds of students. This was a study which was done for adolescent students. And we can clearly see by the terms self confidence, scared, then felt embarrassed, humiliated over restrictions. These are all the things that are happening with kids. And not just kids, but they are increasingly happening with adults as well in the adult life. Because we have to agree, 70% of us, India, is rural. When 70% is rural, most of the young women, elderly women of the reproductive age are in those areas. And when they are in those areas, and if this cycle goes on, it just goes on and on and on until that cycle is broken at some point. Okay, so now menstruation and PMS, biological phenomena, both of them, or social constructs. PMS for sure, which I said earlier is premenstrual syndrome. Many people think it's a social construct. Now, what's a social construct? It's something that does not just happen. It is something which is there only in the mind, that this kind of a thing will happen. You have to be with it. It is not something that actually happens. And menstruation, difficulties associated with menstruation, challenges that women face at workplace. How can we imagine a woman who is on her first day of a period and who actually has heavy bleeding going for her work without being lethargic, without looking sick? In if that worse is the situation, it is a challenging situation, but the women have to do it, right? And even today, as much as we have progressed, women are struggling with dual burden. One is to balance their home, one is to balance their workplace. And this balance is so difficult because they are both very very taxing physically on the physically and mentally on that one individual. And if one individual has to do both these things, then how? It is not possible. Cut short to very fast moving urban metros, you have a handful of women who kind of raise their voice against it, who well are aware of, what they need to be happy, or what they need to be empowered to make their own decisions. They have that level of education, financial literacy, everything. But when we again talk about this dual burden, we are referring to the larger part who does not have all of this, and who have not been having it for all the time. Now, the thing is that women have made a compromise here. Why compromise? Because, okay, until the generation before that, you would say, or until a few years back, women did not really have a lot of women did not have a lot of career ambitions. Now they do. So now they do, just with a clause that, okay, I have to manage my career, but at the same time I have to manage my house. Only when I do these both things is when I'm a successful woman. No, that is not the case. But that is how we all as women have been deeply 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 ingrained, got that carved in our minds, that I would be a successful human being as a woman only when I can manage my home and I can manage my work equally well, and I can succeed in both. Some pass at it, some fail at it. Now, just looking at a few challenges that we could all raise up. Open defecation. There's a good chunk of Indian population in the rural areas, also in the urban, because we have the slum areas where there is open defecation. Women, open defecation for women results in a lot of cases of sexual abuse every year, which are reported. Many of them go unreported. But isn't it a sort of a burden on the woman from all three angles: physical, cultural, mental? Uh, we have all seen many movies these days have been made on issues like menstruation, issues on open defecation, and it is surprising that people are actually taking steps forward to kind of make movies on such topics, make documentaries on such topics, because that's the power of media these days. Now, again, if we talk about menstrual hygiene management, all this while what I spoke was nothing related to menstrual hygiene management, because that's not that's more for the policymakers who would sit and make decisions where to distribute what. But here, we as people from different streams, what do we need to understand is, how can we address these challenges at our own level? Where can we start from? Now, if we talk about menstrual hygiene management, completely silenced by culture. How silenced by culture? Because in the rural parts, if I would say, whereas in urban parts, we have moved to menstrual cups, we have moved to tampons, there's a lot of progress out here. But when we go back to rural areas, people are stuck with, kind of this lack of affordability to buy sanitary napkins. Sometimes it's a very dirty soiled cloth that they would be using, and complete lack of awareness about menstrual hygiene. Now, why? What other reason than not being silenced by culture? It's a taboo to talk about that, and hence people don't talk about it. The less the discussion, the full stop on knowledge over there. Gender-based violence exists in a lot of forms. Sometimes when we think gender-based violence is mostly just physical that comes to our mind, a husband beating wife, something like that. It's not that. It's more than that. There is there's financial violence and abuse associated. When a woman is devoid of her own hard-earned money from expenditure, or has to give it to somebody else, that is violence. uh, Mental abuse, the different forms of abuse that still exist. One of them is when women are devoid of their rights as women, when it comes to accessing the products, purchasing the products which are required for their hygiene, despite having the affordability. Now, if there is no affordability, that's a task. But government has come up with a solution for it, where sanitary napkins are given at a very subsidized cost. But again, I would refrain from commenting on the availability of those particular sanitary napkins, because we have room for a lot of things, but there are still gaps in, filling the circle. uh, Gender neutral approach, there's a lot of development happening, infrastructural development that we can say, but they're all gender neutral. One size does not fit all is a very common saying that goes same with when we come to infrastructure. When we have a school out there and we make washrooms, toilets, I would rather say, and we do not ensure that the toilet has good water supply, though limited in nature, but there should be water supply, does not have a dustbin, does not have cleanliness in that particular place, and is just next to the men's washroom. That is what I would say a lack of sanitary infrastructural, lack of good approach towards sanitary infrastructure development. So these are a few things that are still challenging for us. But then what more? I would say, when taboos, talking about taboos that we have, haven't we all come across this thing where women are not allowed to enter the kitchen while they are menstruating? Now, if I know the correct scientific reason through my understanding for it, why it was so earlier was because women used to work a lot manually, lot of manual energy. Like even today, if we want to make a chutney, for example, we would use our mixer grinders at home. Back then, there used to be all those stone grinders which they had to sit and kind of use. So that was physically taxing on the woman's body. Now that is not the case. They used to do a lot of heavy activities like washing clothes and washing utensils, all of those for the entire family. And back then, because that was the reason, I feel women were kind of refrained from doing household activities during their periods. Now what is the situation? I really fail to understand. Now we, in most of the cases, okay, I'm not saying about people who are still deprived of these facilities, but to those who have all of these, why do you still practice all of this? Why can't a woman enter the kitchen during her periods? I'm not going to comment on the religious part of it because that is not my subject of understanding. But when we just talk about a normal process of cooking and entering the kitchen, why not? You have a mixer grinder, you don't have to do very heavy manual grinding. You don't have to sit and wash clothes. You have clothes get washed in the click of a button. Everything happens at a click these days. Then why not? So I mean, many people have different answers and understanding to this, but it should be something that is scientifically also right, otherwise not. When we talk about other superstitions just like these, then we talk about lack of awareness, or it could be infrastructure, shame, embarrassment. There's so much shame and embarrassment attached to all of this that the girls, the women, we end up carrying that burden without it's like carrying the burden of doing nothing wrong. You end up doing that. Suppose someone sees a stained cloth with blood, then it's a thing of shame. That's how people are grown up to understand, and that is what has to stop. Because ultimately, for women empowerment, it only would start when people, especially women, understand what self-respect is, what dignity is for them, and what self-esteem is. And all of this comes from good confidence levels. Good confidence level comes when you are free from all the taboos and superstitions. I would not say superstitions because they partly would always exist. I would say myths and taboos. And when you are well aware, education is another thing. Being aware is another thing. Being aware today about anything and everything is more important than having a formal degree. So that is where our steps start. Because all these gendered social norms that we have, they're discriminatory in nature, deep rooted, and it is something which is kind of a very deep belief that people have grown up with. And those perceptions, those attitudes, they gradually fade. They do not fade overnight. Because I wouldn't shy away from saying that where we were and where we are, we have come a long way in terms of this. These days, in more liberal communities, I would say, more educated people, these issues are addressed. these issues are taken care of, uh, and they are not made to be felt or looked at like issues, rather natural concepts which are occurring. So there is a shift, I wouldn't deny that, good shift happening, but the pace of that shift is very slow, and that pace would increase only when each of us would become more aware about how big a difference can we make when we make the difference in one person's life. Just for example, some of us would have some people coming our home, helping us with our household activities. Our step starts right from there. If we are able to educate that one person about her health rights, the facilities she has being a woman in the healthcare system, the facilities she can get at a very subsidized rate because she's a woman, and all these have been made so that women are given that equitable, platform, that equity based platform, nothing else. So I think that's where it would start from. So I would like to kind of leave the thing here, this entire discussion, because today my understanding was, I would just like to raise a few questions about what our understanding is, bring together a few comprehensive, or I would say concise information, pieces of information here and there. As you can see, there might not be a continuity of the topic here, because it cannot be. There are all different bits and pieces to this entire topic, which each one of them, each one of us together can connect. So I would just like to leave with three very important questions. Are we evolving, progressing towards better times ahead as women, as individuals, and as a community together? Community of women, again, I'm focusing on that. Do we really firmly believe in equality as individuals? And if yes, then are we following that at our individual homes? That is very important. And the last but not the least, are we ready to embrace equity? Because if we are ready to embrace equity, it is not just for us, but we'll have to take extra steps for other women as well. Until then, it cannot happen. If you see someone struggling with some menstrual hygiene problem, which is just an example, you need to make sure that you, as an educated person who can have good opinions about a particular subject, helps that other person be aware. Whether give opinions, build their opinions or not is not important, but to make them aware and help them give that first step towards important empowerment is what we can do as individuals now. So with this, I would like to just end this here. Thank you, Manali. Thank you, Nidhi, for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vasudha. It was a really thought-provoking address that you just now gave, and definitely there are a lot of things that we have neglected so long, and we have treated it as a taboo. We are ashamed of talking about these things, but they are the reality of our situation. It is not as if it's not like if the pigeon closes its eye, the cat cannot see it. Definitely can. The reality, it is still there. But we just choose to close our eyes on it, and we believe there's nothing wrong in society. But actually, there is a lot of things that are going wrong, especially when it comes to the health of women, and that definitely has to change, because now we are advancing. Our satellites are going into orbits around the Earth. We are sending missions to Mars, and we are planning to send people to other planets. And still, our women are not free to talk about their menstruation or their postpartum depression or their other kinds of mental issues. I think that is very silly. As a society, we are failing somewhere. So it was a very wonderful talk that you gave. Unfortunately, our other two panelists are not going to be able to join us today. So let's have a discussion. But before that, being a student of psychology myself, I want to share a few words. Actually, I'd like to start with a poem because Miss Vasudha here just now spoke about menstrual health and hygiene of women. Uh, this poem is written by me, and it summarizes the feelings of several women across India who have been treated as untouchables during the days of menstruation, when they're not allowed to enter the kitchen or when they're not allowed to touch anything in the house. how it makes them feel. The feeling that you're polluted, uh, the way they are pointing fingers and telling you to stay away and stay alert that you don't touch anything. So this is a poem I had written a few years ago after hearing what happens, what goes on in our society. So yes, this is a poem. Yes, I'm a woman. Yes, I'm untouchable. For 4 days every month, because apparently your God, just like you, is a patriarch. Your God, just like you, will get polluted by my touch. But don't forget, your God, just like you, was born from my womb. Yes, I defy the claim that your God created me. No, I am the creator. I gave birth to him. You might think I am making a mountain out of a molehill, but do you know I have questions? Unanswered questions, age old questions, neglected questions. Questions I'm not allowed to ask. Fine, I will accept that I am unclean, only on one condition. If I am impure, then you are too, and so is your God, because your God, just like you, was born from my womb. Now, how do you feel? Angry? Enraged? Incensed? How do you think I feel? Just think and let me know. So, uh, this poem is just a reflection of how uh, women feel when they are made to feel polluted, or when they are made to feel unclean, just because they are going through a natural process, a biological process that they have no control over. Can you ever imagine a guy being, you know, socially insulted or made to feel embarrassed if he is having a heart attack, which is not under his control, or if anything such other thing happens, where any health issue, any health condition, or let's say something natural that usually happens to everybody. Do you make fun of people for sneezing, or do you make fun of people for coughing? No, you don't. So why then are women subjected to such kinds of bias and prejudice and stereotypes when it comes to their physical and mental health? Being a student of psychology myself, I would like to speak about postpartum depression. As Usha Devi ma'am was telling in her address, women have been idealized as mothers in our society since ancient period. We have the idols of mother goddess even in the Indus Valley civilization. So we can generally assume that women have been worshipped as mother goddesses, or as mothers and goddesses, since times immemorial. We don't know since when. But then, what about after becoming a mother? The mental, emotional toll, the physical stress that a mother goes through. Is there anything that is done for that? Of course, there are traditional methods in which women, they are given rest and they are given treatment and all that. But now, since most women are working women, and they have to join their jobs as soon as their maternity leave is over, and they are also going through a crisis period because they are leaving their children for the first time and stepping out of their house. They are worried about the baby. All that emotional trauma is there, and many people, they believe that postpartum depression is not a real thing. Again, they think that it is a social construct, it is just something that people think, it is just in their head. But how do you think will a woman feel? How do you think a man would feel if his body has drastically changed over a period of 9 months? He's put on a lot of weight, and he can't laugh naturally, or sit down naturally, or lie down naturally in a comfortable position. It's continuously, there's some heavy weight hanging onto his body, or let's say he's gone through 8 or 10 hours of labor and given birth to a child. uh, would then that person say that post partum depression is not true, or it's not real? I don't think so. Why? Because going through such drastic changes, as human beings, we do not like changes. We take some time to accept changes, but especially when these changes are fundamental, when they are changes to the structure of one's body, the way one looks, the way one has to divide his or her time, the way one has to devote his entire life to upbringing and welfare of a child. It's a huge change. And even today in our society, mothers are expected to do most of the upbringing, most of the um, teaching, and most of the taking care of children. So uh, it tends to have a negative effect on the psychological well-being of that woman. Definitely, there is postpartum depression. They go through a lot of mental stress. There's also physical stress. um Going through a period of breastfeeding, or going through a period of recovering from the labor, the delivery of the child. It is not easy. There is pain, there is fear, new parent blues, which are very real. Both mothers and fathers, they go through this new parent blues because they have now realized the um, actual reality of the situation, that they are now going to be having to take care of a young infant, a human being, for the rest of their lives, and it is scary. So then, why are women told that their postpartum depression is not real, or that it is something which is only in their minds? Uh, Not only postpartum depressions, even women who go through traumatic experiences, women who are victims, or women who are victims of acid attack or eve teasing or molestation, they go into depression. They have fear of the society from then on. From after the traumatic experience, they have PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, which is very common, which is very real. But again, society tells, see, you are a woman, you have to sacrifice, you have to compromise, you have to tolerate. Kshamaya dharitri, you are you, if you want to be an ideal woman, if you want to be respected by everybody, you have to be so and so, you have to fit in this particular frame which we have prepared, which the society has created since god knows how many years. And in trying to fit into that frame, in trying to becoming an ideal woman, it is very easy to lose sense of one's own identity. Women usually, they just at the end of all this, they are just mothers, they are just wives, or they are just homemakers. They are cooks, they are first aid, I don't know, caregivers, or all that. But what about the woman that she was to begin with? What about being a student? What about being a researcher? What about being a professional? After all this, after becoming a mother, or after becoming a family woman, usually women are asked questions such as, how are you managing? How are you balancing between your work life and family life? Who is going to raise your children? Who is going to take care of your child? Or who is going to give food to your husband? It is funny because the same husband was eating food even before he got married. Isn't that true? And what about the children? Okay, yes, that is a legitimate question. But again, when the child is born to both the parents, both mother and father, then why should only the mother be expected to sacrifice her career? And when given with such a choice, whether you want a career or a family, such a choice can be very stressful. It can lead to depression, it can lead to anxiety disorders. Again, a lot of people do not believe in psychological disorders. They think that such things are only in the mind. Yes, they are in the mind, but what stops it from being real then? Just because it is in the mind, does it mean it is not real? Absolutely not. It is, in fact, very real. There are so many women who come to the age of middle age. The empty nest syndrome, it is called, when the children have all grown up and gone to their own paths. Women feel a sense of emptiness because they have devoted so much of their life to the upbringing of their children that they have lost the sense of their own personal identity. Once the children leave, or once uh, they find their own life partners and go away on their jobs or for education, these women lose the sense of you know um, satisfaction or a purpose in life. They feel that they have no other purpose. And suicides among middle-aged women, especially those who are homemakers, those who have been kept away from a career, those who have been denied the luxury of choosing their own life paths, and they tend to commit suicide. They tend to go into depression. They tend to um, feel as if their life has no meaning. And when 49% of the population of this country is female, they are women, and when a great chunk of that population feels that their life has no meaning, is it not real? Is it not a real psychological disorder? Is it not a genuine health issue, a mental health issue? So we are now in the 21st century. We have opened up a little bit. We are now discussing freely about menstruation. We are discussing about the issues related to pregnancy. But still, somewhere, we think that discussing mental health issues is somewhere beneath us, or maybe it makes us sound cynical or unreal. I think that has to change, because times have changed. Psychologists have actually named this century as a century of anxiety disorders, as a century of depression. There's a lot of chaos in society. There's a lot of things that are going um, wrong in the lives of many women. More and more women are coming and joining the workforce, and in those workplaces, sometimes these women are being sexually harassed. They are becoming victims of prejudices, stereotypes. Even today, women are hired by most of the places, uh, especially places where communication with the customers is very important. Women are hired there to be eye candies. Uh, their entire worth, uh, it is only in their physical beauty. It's as if they don't have a brain of their own. It's as if they don't have feelings of their own. And that kind of an attitude, that kind of treatment by others, can lead a woman to feel inferior, to go through depression, to go through anxiety. She will keep questioning herself, second guessing herself every day, whether my life has any meaning, or whether I am worthwhile. Am I doing the right thing by choosing my career over my family? Am I wrong in demanding to be treated with respect? Am I wrong in filing for a divorce if my husband treats me violently or if he beats me? Am I being too dramatic if I break up with someone just because they do not appreciate my career choice, or they try to control what I wear or what kind of clothes I have in my closet? So all these questions, they might appear to be small questions to someone who is not in our shoes, who is not wearing our shoes, who doesn't know what kind of a mental turmoil we go through every day. And then what happens is, uh, when people don't understand, we start second guessing ourselves. Maybe they are right, maybe the others are right, and maybe we are wrong in thinking so much. We are overthinking it. Maybe we are simply too dramatic. And then the real issue, it just goes out of the window. uh, Once again we start striving for perfection. Once again we start striving to become the ideal woman, the tolerant, the sacrificing, the most you know um, calm and composed woman that anyone has ever known. If men lose their temper, and which is quite often, if we see the road rage incidents, I think most of them involve men. There are very few road rage incidents where women are involved. So men are naturally aggressive, so it is okay if they just sometime burst out, explode. But if women do that, they are called names. They are sensationalized in the media. They are um, treated as if they have come from another planet. So I think these psychological issues, the root cause of these issues is a social perception of woman, of her health, of her entire personality, and without some fundamental changes, we will not be able to reverse the damage that has been done to the overall health of women as well as society. See, if half of the population is unhealthy, is sick, then the entire society is sick, and sadly, that is the reality of our situation today. So, with these words, I conclude my little talk. I request all the other panelists to join the discussion, add anything that you have to say.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to add something here. First of all, I apologize all our audience because our other two panelists they were not able to join because of some technical issues. They were stuck, so we apologize for that. But surely we will get back with them and connect the audience with those panelists too in our future initiatives. So basically on the topic how women was the cause to transit the culture from one generation to another generation in India. On that I want to focus a bit because in India the culture which we are following which came from the Vedic period, uh, continuously it is transiting from one generation to another in format of food recipes, and the costumes, the sari which we drape, it may be the ornaments which we wear, it may be taking care of someone or behaving in a manner, everything whatever, it is taught by women itself, women of the house, mother or sister, elder sister, or anyone like grandmother, or mommy or kaku, whoever is there in the family, they only teach us the culture. So I'm not focusing on other countries culture, but basically if we see the Indian culture, the positive part of it, basically women was the cause for that transition. Role of men in the process to promote that culture to the future generation was very less, as we can see. So on that I wanted to mention, because example I want to give here. We prepare this shenga holgi in Uttar Karnataka particularly, which is a very very ancient food item. So that recipe, we don't have like any particular name who founded it like that, but uh, generation wise it has passed through uh, our girls or women. In this manner multiple cultures in multiple religions in India have got transited through women itself. So that is one of the contributions which we don't mention, I guess.
Absolutely, Nidhi. Also, when there are good, traits that have been passed down from generation to generation, there are also many negative aspects of our culture that have been passed down in the same way. It is usually the mothers or the female elderly females in the house that teach the girls that you don't have to sit like this. See, you can't laugh very loudly. You are a girl. You have to be in your limits. You have to wear so and so kind of dresses. See, men are like this only. They will look at you um, however they want. You have to be careful not to look very appealing or not to look very attractive. That kind of a mentality has been fostered in the young girls by the elders itself, and I think it is time now to change that. um, of course, the new generation of women, the new generation of mothers, they are much more enlightened and they are much more empowered. So they are teaching their girls and their boys to treat everybody equally, to be a be an ideal citizen more than being an ideal man or an ideal woman. The social constructs, the so-called gender stereotypical roles of men and women, they are now slowly changing, and that is a welcome step. But obviously, we still have a long, long way to go.
I agree.
Um,
I totally agree with you.
any additions, ma'am? Uh, I think both the panelists are there. Yes.
Yeah.
So I would also like to mention about some other psychological issues that women undergo. Um, Many times women are questioned. For example, if they are reaching the higher positions in their institutions, they are accused of sleeping their way to the top. They are accused of using sexual promiscuity as a ladder to climb the hierarchy of their jobs. It is also mentally very taxing on the woman. However much I work hard, or however much I do in my field, whatever I um, achieve, it all comes down to my sexuality. It all boils down to the fact that I'm a woman and that I have a uterus and that I'm using it to get something from someone. It is as if without that, I have no identity. I have no way of leading the society, or I have no way of becoming something of my own. So that is a very uh, bad mentality that still women, sorry, even women have. Uh, this jealousy between women and women. This is also a social construct. Actually, this is a social construct. Uh, Women have been taught from young age that your competitors are not men. You can't compete with men. You have to compete with women because you are not able enough to compete with men. So obviously, women will become the biggest enemy of women because they don't see men as their competitors. They see men as prizes, something to gain, something to get appreciation from, someone to look up to. But they see other women as competitors, and they look at other women as if, you know, we can't be comrades, we can't be friends, we can't be sisters. But now we have to change that. We are all sisters, we are all in this struggle together, and we definitely are comrades in a fight against all kinds of stereotypes, against all kinds of all genders, not only against women. There are multiple genders in society. Everybody is facing some or the other kind of stereotype. Men also are going through many stereotypes, and it is affecting their health also, which is not good again. So women as one team should fight against all these gender stereotypes. That is what I think.
Uh, I request Miss Katti to like add on if she wants anything on this idea, if she wants to add on this discussion.
No, I would say very rightly articulated the last few lines that you said, and they hold true regardless. Even today, in many fields, there is that competition that's there. Healthy competition is always welcome and good for everybody for their growth. But the minute competition makes you or compels you to use unjust ways of reaching to your desired place or outcome, that's when the that's when it's an alarm that that's not the way it should be. So mental health of women, everything that happens in a woman's life in some or the other way, it's not just for women, it's for everybody else as well. But more so for women, as I told you also about the dual burden, there are too many things to shuffle with at one point. Maybe today when we are here, few of us are blessed enough to not have those challenges in life, and I hope and pray it continues as it is. There are not many challenges, but few have struggled their way through it. And I'm sure Dr. Usha Devi herself could share. I mean, if you look at it, hers is a journey with wherein she has achieved so much, and I'm sure it wouldn't have come without some sacrifices, without some struggles. It would have called for all of that. So sacrifices, struggles, all are most welcome, because without that we cannot achieve anything. But when that gender as a term that comes in and directs our struggles and directs our challenges or the path we have to take, is when it is the problem. So yeah, rightly, what I would say is, summed up by two of you.
Yes, exactly. I think what you said is true. Everybody has to make difficult choices at some point in their life. But if that choice is made more difficult just because you're a woman, then that is wrong. That should change. Uh, Nandan Shastri ji from Gujarat he has written a comment. I'm hearing the talk by Dr. Usha Devi for first time. She's a good orator, and also her proficiency in English is very praiseworthy. She has highlighted many aspects of Devdasis. So, ma'am, he has congratulated you. And he has also written, in Europe and America, there are museums exclusively on the subject of menstruation. Let's hope such museums will emerge in India as well. Definitely, that's a hope, because uh, it should stop being a taboo subject, at least now, at least in this age and period of time. And as you had mentioned, uh, in the 10th standard syllabus of biology, there is a chapter on reproductive system of men and like of human beings. So usually those chapters are skipped, or else, as you told, they are taught separately to boys and girls. uh, there is no awareness about menstruation. When these sanitary napkin companies come to these schools to create awareness among girls about menstruation, about at the, I think, during 6th or 7th standard, uh, the girls are taken out of their class. They are expressly warned that do not show these napkins to the boys in the class. Do not discuss about whatever was spoken in this meeting to them, and don't tell them anything. This is supposed to be our secret. So I think our secret should now come out and be openly discussed. It is very sad to hear when somebody accuses of PMSing when actually we are just irritated by their stupidity. So I think that is a real concern here. Nidhi, are you there?
Yes. Yeah.
So I think
I have
if there
some
is nothing more,
questions.
okay, sure. Yeah,
Yeah. So I want to ask Usha Devi ma'am that on papers, human rights have been given to women. So about all the elements, it may be educational right, it may be economic right, it may be right to property, right to marry, right to choose the profession which they want, or their sexuality. But practically, when we see in India, uh, all the women have not got those rights. So, ma'am, what are your suggestions for policymakers, or like for NGOs, or in fact for women, Indian women, to use those human rights which basically now are on paper for betterment of their life, like how more they can be used in practical life of women? Any suggestions by your side?
ma'am, you are on mute. Please unmute.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, certainly. Nidhi, very good questions that you have raised. That is an argument we'll start with. We know that after our independence, one man, one vote, and we have got all eligibility to vote. But where do we come across that all aspects, social, economical, financial, educational, science, technology, everything How many women are taking part in that? That is raises a question. And secondly, how many are elites? See, education is different and eliteness is different. See, education means everyone knows reading and writing. That is not education. So that should be brought to light. Education means all round awareness, should be knowledge about what are the things that are going on, what is our responsibility, everything they should know. But nowhere we come across what is the percentage of women taking part in politics. We vote for them, we vote for our own leaders, but what is the participation of women? Where the 33% has been given to us, we only demand. And actually, by the process, it should be equally divided, equally honored, equally represented, and equally should be respected. Nowhere we come across that. So, with that background, my point is that what we have the right to vote, that vote should be utilized for the betterment of the women community. Not only human community, women community. That I mean to tell that. Because everyone speaks about after we won the elections, we will assure so much of what are the provisions that has been made. But how many people are availing those facilities? How far government was successful in initiating such a program which they had initiated? Because now the next election is coming in Karnataka, and we all should be aware of that. Which is the provision government or any political party is doing for us? So we have very less information about such things. So with that background, one should think that education is the main way or path for enlightenment. Then ask for the right for everything. So first thing we should know, what are the human rights and what are the women rights and what is the responsibility of the government and each individual as a citizens, what is our duties and responsibilities. So with that background, enlightenment is important, awareness is important, education in a proper manner, that is very important as my perspective goes on. Yes, Nidhi. Yes, Monali, you spoke about health
Thank
and
you
all.
very much.
It was very inspiring. Good that young generation is coming up with new topics and all, which has been taboo, as you told. Should not even speak, should not tell others. That was very hidden agenda, and that leads to curiosity among the children and all. And one thing, it is prejudiced or biased or taboo. So such things and all, they're very critical to explain about these things. So that should be brought to light. As sir has commented, there is a museum of women menstruation. That is very interesting, and the first time I am hearing that, because I have not visited America. So with that background, when I go, certainly I'll request the sir to share the proper location of that museum. We all should visit, so that would be another transformation. But very interesting is that,
I think it is in California.
huh? Which place?
I think it is in California. California, I guess.
California. Okay, okay, okay. Certainly, I'll tell my friends who are staying there to share the museum and all with us. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ma.
Yes, ma'am.
Very
Thank you,
inspiring
ma'am.
Thank,
and thought provoking
thank,
and a new
thank you
topic.
so much.
First, new topic. Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Continue
I
your
have
journey. I wish you all the
Thank you,
best.
ma'am. I have one more
Thank you
question
so much,
for
ma'am.
Ms. Kati. Before ending, we will end with this last question. That much time we will take some extra time from the resource persons. It is a very interesting question because what happened is I was uh, working as an intern in Saksham Foundation. At that time, we tried to spread the menstrual education among boys also in schools, in high schools, and when when we try to educate them like through PPT and all, the facial expressions of the boys and all, in it was kind of bit different, I guess, maybe because of the environment of their house, or I don't know. So my question is, what has to be done to make this menstrual education more equitable?
Well, very valid and interesting question. See, for a subject which has not been a subject of the talk, as we say, for so many years, suddenly we cannot and we should not expect anybody, be it young, be it old, to sit and show interest in that particular subject, right? Because first of all, they have grown up with a certain thought. So, before learning a few things, we have to unlearn a lot of things. That happens whenever we, change our profession also, whenever we change our particular study subject also. We have to unlearn a few approaches before we start doing something else. Same goes here. Now, educating the boys or educating the men about menstrual hygiene is far more difficult than what making women talk about the subject is. Women would, for a change, talk about it, but men to sit and learn, it's a challenge. Now, how can we do it? At the school level, let's go, because that's the best age to target anyone, for education purpose or for awareness purpose. What best can be done is to try and make talking about that topic as relaxed and as normal as it is. There's the concept of rapport building that exists. Whenever you kind of even talk to me, for that matter, some unknown person would talk to me or to talk to you, we'll first try to understand what they already know, or what are the common points where we can start building a conversation on. Same thing goes with when we try to bring awareness for boys. First thing is, you have to address the elephant in the room, which is, what are their problems, what are their thoughts about it, right? Unless and until you agree with them that yes, their way of thinking is valid, and then try to make a change into it, you will not be able to educate or make any person aware. See, because powerpoints and all, you will go and you will show, they will see, they will not pay interest, they'll make faces, they'll make fun of you, and that's the end. They'll not take anything back home. But when you keep that PowerPoint aside, just talk to them one on one, and talk to them from their level of understanding, not your level of understanding. Because you have to first unlearn, go back to their level, and both of you come back to the same level again. So clearly, behavior change communication in innovative forms, like, media platforms, or ways of approach that kids would understand. Storytelling, use flip charts, use storytelling methods. More important than anything is to make them talk about it, and to talk about it, you have to become a friend to them, not become somebody who is going to lecture them about something. Then there is a big no. The doors are closed there. Try to become one among them, to get them out of that circle. And that's the only way that it can be done with students. It's a participatory approach completely, so that both the boys and the girls, the men, women, and any other gender orientation, everybody comes at the same level.
Great answer. Uh, I think the video is stuck, Nidhi.
Uh, yeah, she may be joining back. I guess there may be some internet issue.
Yeah, but
I
that was a really inspiring answer. Actually, that is exactly how we can bring about social change. Because, as Vasudha said, we cannot expect to change anyone by lecturing them. That won't bring about a change of heart. To change somebody, to change the fundamental way of thinking, we definitely have to first approach with the hand of friendship and then progress from there. So, that, and I think before leaving this panel discussion, before leaving this panel discussion here today, I just want to introduce one more point about women's health, and that is body shaming. uh, Many women, they are now uh, victims of lifestyle disorders, um, and am I audible? Okay, so many women are now undergoing lifestyle disorders. They are going through a lot, and women are supposed to look perfect at all times. They have to be groomed, and they have to be they have to have a fresh face of makeup at all times. um, we wear makeup, we are show off. We don't wear it, we are behenjis. If we are short, we are tall, we are fat, um, we are too skinny, or whatever we do, whatever a woman does is criticized in society. They criticize a woman for working after having children. They criticize a woman for not working after having a children. They criticize homemakers for staying at home. They criticize those who go out for not staying at home. Everything. They criticize women who don't like to party, and they criticize women who like to party. So everything is a problem with the society, and that causes a lot of anxiety. So I think we should have a separate, this is subject for a separate panel discussion. Body shaming and the shaming of lifestyle choices that women make. I think we will have to have another discussion on that, because it's a long discussion. So um, with this, I think we should end the panel discussion here. We have had a wonderful, meaningful discussion so far. Um, we have uh, we, had, we had a few audience members who also interacted with us through comment section. Dr. S.R. Kattimani sir from Vivekananda Autonomous College of Kolhapur has mentioned that this is a thought-provoking discussion. So I thank him, sir. So with this, I think Nidhi has gone off the stream due to some technical issues. In her absence, I would like to take this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks. Firstly, my gratitude to Dr. M.V. Usha Devi ma'am. Your talk was really inspiring, and it covered all the aspects, all the historical aspects of women's rights, women's health, and very well connected to the contemporary period. So, we are very thankful to you, ma'am, for accepting our invitation and joining us today on this panel discussion. We hope that our association with you continues to flourish in the same way. Secondly, I'd like to thank uh, with from the bottom of my heart, Miss Vasudha Katti. Your talk, your explanation about the various issues related to menstrual hygiene, it was really enlightening and empowering. I'm sure that many people who have already been part of this discussion today have watched it, and those who will watch it in future will definitely have a change of heart by listening to you. So thank you, Vasudha, for accepting our invitation. I also thank the other two panelists in their absence, because they had accepted our invitation for due to some technical issues, they were not able to join us today. But definitely in the future, we will have you again on our platform. My friend and vice president of the history enthusiast and the co-host, the co-moderator of this panel discussion, Ms. Nidhi Katti. She is actually very popular for asking very difficult questions and very on-point questions. So thank you very much, Nidhi, for being such a wonderful and such a curious student of history and women's studies. I also thank all the audience members, those who have been a part of this discussion from the beginning till now. And last but not the least, all our subscribers who might watch this video in the future also. We thank you for your support. Keep supporting us. And if any of the viewers have not already subscribed to this channel, go ahead and click that bell icon and subscribe button, because we have a lot of events planned in the future also. So with this, I think we are signing off. See you very soon, I hope.